I know guys, I'm gonna get so much flack for this video, but before you click off, before you click dislike, before you comment about how I know nothing about prospects and hockey and whatnot, please, hear me out for a sec. First off, I'd like to establish I hope Evan Bouchard has a fantastic career in the NHL. For sure, he's got the headspace to do it, he's got the capabilities of improving, and he's got the capabilities of being a top star, just like every single player who has ever stepped into an NHL draft. We don't know if he's going to succeed at the NHL level, but here in this video, I wanted to talk about why I have concerns about Evan Bouchard. This is also why I didn't make a why I want video about him. But, of course, I'm not sitting here hating on Evan Bouchard, and I'm not saying that he's a bad player in any respect. Of course, the fact that he has the most points out of any of the prospects getting drafted in 2018 is incredible. Absolutely incredible. The most points out of all of them as a defenseman on a mediocre London Knights team. Absolutely incredible. But I have concerns with Evan Bouchard's game. And this is why I don't really want the Canucks to take him. Of course, if the Vancouvers Canucks do take him, I can't do anything about that. I wish him the best, and I hope he'll succeed. Regardless of what team he plays for, I hope he succeeds. But there are reasons as to why I would want the Canucks to choose somebody else over him. And of course, the points don't lie. He got a lot of points, that's awesome. But let's take a look at what Evan Bouchard is described to be. He's described to be an offensive defenseman. Okay, that's kind of obvious. Looking at his stats, kind of obvious. Looking at any of his highlights, kind of obvious. And by the way, before you listen to a little bit more of this video, please, watch some Evan Bouchard highlights. That is the best thing you could do to understand what I'm talking about here. So he's an offensive defenseman, yes, okay. When it comes to his play, okay, his passing ability, it's pretty good. He's got good vision, good hands, and everything. 62 assists in 67 games played for the London Knights. Pretty good. His shot, in my opinion, his shot is accurate and it is effective, but we will get a little bit in-depth about my concerns with his shot as well going forward. And other than that, his defensive IQ. Okay, his IQ has been said to be very strong, and I agree with that. He has a strong defensive IQ. But the last thing I wanted to talk about is his skating. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have heard about his skating before, talking about how it's not where it needs to be. And this is something that might come as a surprise to some people, because there have been a lot of scouts who have said that his skating is above average. Or Elite Prospects has his skating listed as smooth. And I don't necessarily disagree with this. If you watch his highlights, you can see that obviously a guy like Quinn Hughes or Boqvist, they're better skaters than Bouchard, by far. But the thing with Bouchard is that his skating, yes, it is acceptable at the level that he's at right now, and it does get the job done. But there's always the question on whether or not that will translate to the NHL. And that's not my entire argument. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, oh, his skating's bad, I don't want him. That's not what I'm saying here. But there's another aspect to his game that I really think should be discussed, and that is ferocity. And what I mean by that is his drive. Of course, a player like Evan Bouchard has drive. He got 80-plus points in the OHL as a defenseman. He led that league in scoring. He led all draft prospects eligible this year in scoring. Obviously, he's got a drive. But the thing is, watching a lot of his highlights, I don't see Evan Bouchard being the kind of player who forces things to happen. A lot of scouts have talked about Evan Bouchard being the guy who's able to slow down the game. Boqvist and Hughes, these guys play at incredible paces and they speed up the game. But Evan Bouchard is the one player who has risen, above all, to become this player who scouts are saying is able to slow down the game. He slows it down, he takes his time, he looks, he envisions everything, and then he makes a play. Along with his smooth skating, this combines for a player who's able to get 87 points in the OHL. But when I watch his highlights, I don't see a player who's out there to make things happen. I see a player who takes what he's given and works off from there, from the smallest steps going forward. And what I mean by that is, he doesn't have a sense of urgency in some moments in my eyes. When I watch Evan Bouchard play, I see Bouchard make a breakout pass, and then he slowly skates forward. He stands up like a plank, and he's barely going forward a little bit. When I see Evan Bouchard in the offensive zone, he walks in, he makes a pass or he takes a shot. He takes that shot, he makes that pass, and then he stands there. He waits for things to happen outside of his control after he makes his play. After he makes his play, there is no second follow-up with his game. When I see Evan Bouchard make a play, I see him standing there, going forward because he was already skating forward anyway. And the thing is, there have been a lot of scouts and reports I've seen online about Bouchard's work ethic, and how there's sort of a lackadaisical sense to parts of his game. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's a great player. He's a skilled, effective player at the OHL level. But if you take a player whose skating isn't necessarily the best, and the same player who likes to take a short skate once in a while, sort of in a lackadaisical manner, it doesn't scream to me a player who will be successful at the NHL level. It doesn't matter how good you are at passing. It doesn't matter how good your offensive IQ or defensive IQ is. If you're not fast and you're not mobile, which are two things that Evan Bouchard is not described as, and if you don't have the ferocity to be able to get yourself up to speed, you won't succeed at the NHL level. Look at this conversation here on the Canucks subreddit. This is actually the thing that enticed me to making this video, because this has been a topic I've been thinking about for 2 weeks now, but this comment, this thread, is what made me go, yep, I got it. I got my meat and potatoes. Let's make this video. Even the slowest top-pairing defensemen are still more than fast enough to keep up with anyone short of McDavid. The transition game is incredibly important nowadays, and you need quick, mobile defensemen to make it work. Then we have this reply over here that says, if he's very smart positionally, then he can cover up for a lack of skating. But the reply to that, not on turnovers, not on transition plays, nor on 3-on-3 overtime. Which is very, very true. Bouchard is the player who you absolutely do not want to have the puck stripped away from him. Nor do you want him to give up a bad turnover. Because if that transition game transpires in the middle of a game, on the rush, Evan Bouchard is not the kind of player who's able to completely make a 180 and speed back up on a backcheck like a Hughes or a Boqvist or a Dahlin. But Bouchard has a good defensive IQ, and I'm not going to deny that. But the reason this doesn't apply here is because his defensive IQ is really just a measure of how strongly he plays when, they're hemmed in their own zone, when they're penalty killing. When Evan Bouchard is trapped in a position where his team is trapped in their own zone, and the other team is cycling it around, trying to open up space to the net, that's when Evan Bouchard has a great defensive IQ. That's when he makes good decisions. He's able to pickpocket off teams, clear the puck, do his job as a defenseman. That's a great defensive IQ. But since the NHL is moving towards a more mobile game, a transition kind of game, a game that relies on speed, edges, and cuts, this is not the game that Evan Bouchard can play. And Evan Bouchard, in terms of his tenacity as a skater, it's not there. When it comes to guys making complete 180s on the rush, he's not there. And you'll see frequently a lot of guys who are able to outskate Evan Bouchard trying to get themselves on a 2-on-1 or a breakaway. It happens. Evan Bouchard is not the kind of guy who's strong on the backcheck. And this is why I'm skeptical on his game translating to an NHL level. On the offensive side of things, the fact that he's able to slow the game down, pause things up, and wind up for a really long time to take a slap shot, it doesn't scream to me a game that will succeed 100% in the NHL. Because in the NHL, the players are faster, they're smarter, they make quicker decisions. Evan Bouchard needs to step up his game into making quicker decisions if he wants to make the NHL as successfully as he's made the OHL. Because his game, it works in the OHL, that's fine, it's a fantastic playing style over there. But it doesn't scream to me the kind of playing style that would work in the NHL. Sure, he has great offensive instincts, sure he has a good defensive IQ, a good shot that is accurate, but it does take a really long time to load up, good passing, good vision and everything, but everything outside of offensive talent. His mobility is what he needs to work on. And this is why I have concerns. But again, refer to the intro of the video. I still want him to have a great NHL career and to improve. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Plus, you know, that's just saying gaming, and bye.